Now, meanwhile, Anglo American has swung to a loss after a massive write-down of the value of its diamond unit. The mining group has written down the value of its De Beers diamond business for the second time in 2 years and now hopes to offload the unit as part of its restructuring plan. Earlier, I caught up with mining analyst David van Wyk for greater perspective on the group's performance. Here's that conversation.
I think that Anglo Platinum cost performance and portfolio simplification process is very interesting in the light of Glencore's offer to buy out Anglo last year, when Glencore said its takeover bid depends on Anglo losing diamonds, platinum, and its iron operations in South Africa.
That's BHP. That's BHP.
Last year, Anglo had a problem with Glencore. Oh no, was it BHP? Yeah, it was BHP. But also, I think Glencore made an offer.
Yes.
But in any case, they all, the takeover bid depended on Anglo losing platinum and diamonds, and also losing its iron production in South Africa.
Yes.
Now, it's interesting to see that in terms of the portfolio simplification and growth process that Anglo mentions in this particular financial report for 2024, it is basically demerging from Anglo Platinum. It is also losing its steel-making coal production, its steel coal production, and it is also reducing its participation in diamonds, and it's going to focus on iron, and it's going to focus on copper, and it's going to focus on agricultural products, so agricultural chemicals and so on. Now, for me, this is interesting because I think the iron and copper planning that they want to expand relates to the the growth in construction in China, and also on the wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East. Both copper and iron are essential commodities for the production of weapons and so on, and that's why the copper price is so high at the moment. But I think this kind of planning is very problematic because, the Trump administration is going full out to stop the war in Ukraine, which means that the copper price might collapse as a result of that if that war should stop. And also in the Middle East, we see that there are big attempts now to take the conflict down from the level that it was at previously. That's definitely going to impact on copper, and the boom that copper is experiencing at the moment. We don't know about the Chinese construction boom because that boom can't go on forever. The Chinese property and construction boom at some point is going to reach a peak, and then after that peak, it might actually fall, and then iron and copper prices might be impacted by that, and Anglo will be left with a portfolio that only focuses on copper, iron, and on these agricultural products that it is referring to, So I'm a bit worried about that. The other thing is that in terms of its cost cutting, it talks about portfolio simplification and cost performance, reducing costs very significantly, and that actually refers to retrenchments in its labor force. And South Africa cannot afford, if we look at it from a social perspective and from the perspective of South Africa as a country, the demerger with Anglo Platinum, the cutting back of steel coal production, and also its exiting basically from diamonds, all have implications for jobs in South Africa and for the economy of South Africa, which is very worrying. Anglo is no longer a South African company; it is now a British company. Since it relisted in the London Stock Exchange some years ago. And basically, this looks very much like it is slowly cutting its links to South Africa, which links up with the whole problem of, the change from large-scale industrial mining in South Africa and the abandonment of mines in South Africa. Many of those mines that have been abandoned, of course, are mines that formerly under apartheid used to be Anglo mines.
It's quite interesting, all the points that you list there, and I actually want to drill into one of them in terms of the kind of the strategy that they are going for. Of course, that's soon to be completed with the demerger of Amplats and also trying to figure out what to do with De Beers. And I understand that there is a concern in terms of what will be left in Anglo. Is that maybe a signal that it might not be as attractive to as another target of a takeover by the time it does complete that strategy, or not?
Well, yes, I think that is very problematic, and I think that Anglo into the future is a much reduced company from what it was in the past. It still is consistent with its 40% payout policy in terms of dividends paid out in the financial year 2024, which means that there's money in the pocket of shareholders.
Yeah.
But whether that can be sustained given the rapid changes that are taking place globally, both politically, socially, and economically, remains to be seen, so it might not be as attractive an investment into the future as it is at the moment, because it talks about sustainability in terms of cost reduction and so on, but it's not talking about sustainability in terms of forward planning with regards to the kind of commodities they want to focus on.
I'm actually wondering about this cost-cutting effort. Of course, you have highlighted the adverse impact of it, through the loss of jobs. But it seems that they're even doing, they're exceeding their expectations in terms of that cost-cutting effort. But do you think that at this point they have clocked a cost-efficient operation that is set to sustainably take advantage of when the turnaround in the commodity price cycle happens?
Well, I think that they are trying to move towards the upturn in commodity prices in copper and iron.
Okay.
But they are not looking at other minerals that are absolutely important in terms of the shift towards renewable energy globally. I don't see the strategic minerals, except for copper, of course. Copper is absolutely important, but I don't see any mention of things like manganese, lithium, and other commodities, which are absolutely crucial with regard to the future of the world and climate change and so on, which seems to be important still. But, with the Trump administration, a lot of the climate change stuff is going out of the window in any case. Trump wants to dig more coal. Trump wants to do more mining. Trump wants to do all the kind of things which are not politically sexy at the moment in terms of climate change globally. And also, of course, Trump is de-escalating conflicts in Ukraine and also in the Middle East, which is not good news for Anglo if they are going to focus on iron and copper.
All right. Well, we do have to wrap up the conversation there, David. Thank you so much for your insights on the results that came out of Anglo American. Of course, now that Anglo Stable having put out all the results there, it's going to be quite interesting to see how they progress in their portfolio optimization journey. That was mining analyst David van Wyk.